the goal of Russia, of the Kremlin, of Vladimir Putin, is very simple: it's genocide. Um, the destruction of Ukrainian identity, destruction of the Ukrainian state, transformation of what is left of the Ukrainian people into little, to sort of pliant puppet little Russians, and Ukraine, what's left of it, minus the territories annexed by Russia, would become this little Russian puppet state. Ukraine would resemble Lukashenko's Belarus. It would be sovereign, but not really sovereign. It would be a Russian colony, a Russian puppet state. That is the goal. So the idea that some had until the Kursk incursion by Ukraine to somehow do a deal with Russia, that Russia gets to keep what it's currently occupying, which is 20% of Ukraine, and then there'll be a kind of a peaceful settlement, is a myth, because this will never be enough for Russia. Russia currently does not occupy a single big Ukrainian city. Russia's goals have remained from the very beginning and continue to remain, even though they are not realistic, the occupation of the big cities of Ukraine, which they regard as Russian cities. Kharkiv, Odessa, Dnipropetrovsk, Kyiv. In the eyes of Russian nationalists, Russian imperialists like Putin, these are Russian cities, not Ukrainian cities. And they have to be occupied or destroyed, or one of the two. So Russia would never stop at some kind of peace agreement where it only had 20% of Ukrainian territory, which is basically the Donbass, southern Zaporizhia Oblast, and eastern Kherson Oblast. That would never be enough for Russia. It would be just an attempt at rebuilding the Russian army, to then come back and try and capture the rest of Ukraine and destroy free, independent Ukraine and commit genocide against the Ukrainian people. Just to see what is taking place, there have been quite a few studies done of what is happening in Russian-occupied southeastern Ukraine, and what are the Russians doing there? Well, de-Ukrainization, Russification, introducing Soviet kind of Russian history into schools and education, banning all the Ukrainian churches. The only church allowed is the Russian Orthodox Church. So the Ukrainian Greek Catholic, Orthodox Church of Ukraine, and Protestant churches like the Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses are all banned. So the idea that, oh, Ukrainians are repressing Russian Orthodox is completely false. The real repression of religion is taking place in Russian-occupied Ukraine. Together with that, you have, of course, executions, torture, repression, imprisonment of Ukrainian patriots. The outcome of all of this is that there is simply, and this is what opinion polls show, there is no other alternative except for Ukrainians to continue fighting. Because to do a deal with Putin, firstly, it would be never enough for his appetite, and secondly, they would never stop at that. It would just be an attempt at rebuilding. The idea that somehow the war would ground to a halt, it would kind of resemble, shall we say, North and South Korea or East and West Germany, that would never be the case. So that is unlikely. And also, Ukrainians don't trust, rightfully so, anything that Putin signs. It's a complete waste of time. In invading Ukraine, first in 2014 and then later, Russia infringed countless documents it signed with Ukraine, including recognizing the Ukrainian border, and also the Budapest Memorandum of 1994, where Russia, together with Britain and America, gave Ukrainian security assurances, recognizing its territorial integrity in return for giving up nuclear weapons. So there's simply no trust in whatever Putin says. He's a serial liar, and we cannot trust him, and Ukrainians do not trust him. Opinion polls in Ukraine show majority of Ukrainians would like to continue fighting. They believe in victory. This, of course, goes up and down. It went down after the failed counteroffensive last year. It's now gone back up with the Kursk incursion. But nevertheless, they don't really see an alternative to that. The bigger problem isn't the Ukrainian side. The bigger problem is the Western side. Western governments have drip-fed military aid to Ukraine because they want to give it only enough for Ukraine to survive and not be defeated, but never enough for Ukraine to have a victory.